podcast, Learning Curves and Coffee, where we skip the perfection, spill the real, and talk parenting, teaching, and personal growth over a hot cup. I'm Ivory, a mother, edupreneur, and your caffeinated co-pilot through the meltdowns, meetings, and magical moments. Let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are listening. Happy Autism Acceptance Month, Celebration Month, Embracing Month, however you want to look at it. You should be listening to this in April. If not, thank you for tuning in per usual. I really appreciate you all for the support. I feel like I say that every week, but I think it's important. Like, I don't take it lightly when people take out their time. Time is essential to listen to what you have to say. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's jump right in. I want to dive into something today that's a little bit more on the educational side. Of course, you all know that this podcast is rooted in parent personal development and resiliency while they're supporting their neurodiverse child and learning some key skills and concepts to navigate the educational spaces. Oh, this podcast is also a space where teachers listen in to learn how to partner effectively with parents. So, with that being said, I want to talk about this concept. Many of you may be familiar with it, but those who are not, I'm going to break it down because it's an educational term. And I know sometimes we speak in languages as educators that oftentimes the everyday person doesn't understand. But I want to talk about teaching executive functioning skills for kids at every age, right? So when we think about executive functioning skills, we're talking about the ability to be organized, manage your time, focus, plan ahead, impulse control. Yes, I know. Those things, I know I'm certainly thinking, are things that I, as an adult, have had difficulty with, which is why I think I'm the best person to have this conversation because I obviously absolutely notice these difficulties in my own son who is 9 years old, autistic, and has ADHD. But it's something that I've also had difficulty with throughout my maturation and even in my adulthood as a professional woman. I have a career that is relatively demanding. It's a senior level role where I'm responsible for projects that impact hundreds of people, right? And so that requires a high level of organization, time management, focus, planning, and impulse control. And so I've had to learn how to build those things within myself as well. And so I want to talk about what I've learned and how you can apply these things to your kids, right? Because if you ask me, I think these are things that are key to navigating a world that is not always designed for us. You don't have to be an expert at these things. I'm certainly not, but having some of these skill sets in your tool belt will take you farther than simply talent or skill alone, right? So, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard the word as a young person that, are you trying? Are you being lazy? Or they don't care. I can't tell you how many times as an educator I've heard other adults say that about children, that they're not trying, that they're lazy, that they don't care. But when you really look closer, the issue isn't motivation, it's skill. When I would work with students who constantly forgot assignments, I realized that it wasn't because they didn't want to do them. It was because they didn't have a system to keep up with. And so once I helped them work through a structure, things improved. And I realized that executive functioning isn't a personality trait, though some people are born with a higher level of having that skill set than others. It's a set of skills that also can be taught, right, and can be learned, and a habit that can be built. Research shows us that executive functioning skills develop gradually and often form fully once you are in your mid to late 20s, right? And I was reading in the Center on the Development of Child. It's a Harvard study. Um, it highlighted that skills like working memory, flexible thinking, and self control are built through practice and support, not punishment. I want to say that again, that skills like working memory, flexible thinking, self control are not built through punishment, meaning force or coercion or yelling at or bothering. It is built through practice and support, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So when we expect kids to just manage and get through, we are skipping the teaching part, right? Let's look at this through our framework. Where is your child or student struggling? Is it organization? Is it time management? Is it starting tasks? Is it finishing tasks? Get really specific and remember that all of these skills are don't have to be built at the same time. You can tackle one at a time. And so Khalil is pretty good at organization. When I set up a system, especially in his room with a routine of like, when you get undressed, this is where you put your clothes, this is where you put your shoes, this is where you hang up your backpack. Like he knows those things and he does it really well when you put a system in place. Going back to that system and structure. However, his time management is a work in progress. And so I'm often saying, Khalil, come on, you got 5 minutes, you have 2 minutes, let's go. I have to keep him on track so we can move to the next thing, which, as I'm speaking about this out loud, has me thinking I should incorporate more um, timers in our routine so that he knows how long things take and when to be done with something. And so I'll keep y'all updated with that. But observe what it is that your child struggles with the most, and then hone in on that skill and build on those skills over time, right? Accept that these are skills, not behaviors. Remember, they can be learned. So it's not about being lazy, it's about developing and learning a skill over time. And it takes time. And then, lastly, once you realize this, build the systems in place, set them up for success. So you don't just tell your kids what to do, you show them how to do it. You show them where things go. You show them how to put it back properly, and you stay on top of them with being consistent with that, right? Not from a place of punishment, from a place of gentle accountability or expectation and consistency, right? So let's think about some strategies that could support as it relates to building out these executive functioning skills in our children and in ourselves, like, quite frankly. Number one, remember that our brains are not storage units. So use visual schedules, like use checklists and use timers. I just mentioned that. I do sometimes with Khalil, but I'm definitely gonna incorporate it more. If it's in their head, it's gonna get lost in all the other magical things that are in their head. So have what we call reinforcers: visual schedules, checklists, timers. Um, Number two, break the task down. So instead of saying clean your room, especially for our neurodiverse kids, I know for my child who's autistic, that could mean anything. So you can be very specific. Pick up your clothes, make your bed up, put your toys away, right? And even that deserves a checklist if you ask me. But clarify reduces resiliency. Use timers, use time as an anchor, truly. And so, like, instead of doing it now, say after dinner or before dinner, Make that visible as well. This is very much so akin to the first then method of first do this, then do this. Not only does it help with the breakdown of different tasks, but it gives them an understanding of expectations and what to expect next. So use time as an anchor for sure and as a leverage. Build routines, not reminders. And so routines reduce decision fatigue because you know what to expect. And so the same steps, the same order every day, especially that morning and night routine. When you have your checklist or your routine up visually, it also reduces that anxiety and uncertainty. So build the routine so you don't have to constantly remind. When you have the routine and you ensure that your child follows through with this routine consistently, I promise you will find that they will do it independently after a while without you having to tell them. After a day or two of me taking Khalil through a routine, I will begin to ask him, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? So that he knows and then he'll name it for me without me having to tell him, right? And then lastly, us teach in a start small mindset, right? The hardest part about starting is actually starting. And so, if cleaning their room is a difficult thing, put 5 minutes on there for them to pick up their toys and build that momentum, and then even praise the effort, And so, these things take time, and depending on your child's abilities, give them incremental opportunities to succeed, okay? So remember, executive functioning is not about control, it's about independence. We want our children to be as independent as they possibly can. And so, if your goal is not to manage your kids forever, which mine certainly is, then you want to teach them how to manage themselves. And that is how, and the strategies we just discussed are ways to do that. So, the next time a child forgets, delays, or struggles, pause before you start labeling them and ask yourself, have they been taught how to do this? Maybe they haven't been taught, right? Or maybe they need to be re-taught until they get it right, because this is a journey, not a destination. And because when we shift from frustration to instruction, everything changes. Our jobs as parents are to be teachers and model these things, right? So, if you want to learn how to do that, you know where to reach me. I highly encourage you to sign up for a session. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye. This is Learning Curves and Coffee.